Já, komið sæl og verið velkomin í þáttinn Sósíalískir feministar. Ég heiti Maríu Pétursdóttur og með mér Sara Stef Hildardóttur á Zoom-i og við ætlum að fara með ykkur í gegnum þennan þátt og sýna ykkur viðtal sem við tókum á dögunum í London. Sara, þú kannski segir frá því hvernig það kom til.
Já, við vorum á þessari marxísku ráðstefnu sem haldin hefur verið árlega síðastliðin ár og var núna, þetta var raunverulega stærsta hátíðin sem haldin hefur verið svo árum skiptir. Það voru komin saman 5.000 manns og frá öllum heimshornum, mest frá Bretlandi náttúrulega, allar marxísku sælurnar úr The Socialist Workers Party, SWP kallaðu sig, til styttingar en að auki var fólk frá Ítalíu, Chile, Frakklandi, það kom hópi frá Frakklandi sem hefur staðið fyrir að skipuleggja hluti af þessum mótmælum sem að ganga yfir Frakkland núna í Marseille og París til dæmis voru 2 hópar og var rosalegt bara að heyra í þeim og þannig að það kom svo sem ekki á óvart kannski að við hittum líka konu frá Íran, Suelu.
Einmitt.
Sem við tókum svo viðtal við og skoðum aðeins betur á eftir.
Já, hún var komin þarna á þessa sósíalísku ráðstefnu eiginlega fyrir hálfgerða tilviljun og við gripum hana. Hún heimildarmyndagerða kona. Þannig að hún var alveg vel tilkipileg í viðtal.
Já, og mikill friðarsinni.
Já, einmitt.
Og það var svona helsta ástæða þessi þegar ekki að hún var komin hana.
Jú, og svo það að hún var að skoða náttúrulega Riviera og það var þarna fyrirlestur Frida Kahlo og eitthvað svona, þannig að það var einhver svona tenging þar, sko.
Akkurat.
Já. En þetta var, já, við kannski ætlum síðan að tilenga kannski næsta þætti af sósíalískum feministum meira af þessari ráðstefnu. Við tókum fullt af vídeóbrotum sem við getum þá líka og kannski væri gaman að fá hana Laufey Líndal Ólafsdóttir sem fór með okkur á ráðstefnuna til þess að mæta í næsta þátt og fjalla aðeins hvað það var sem hún sá þegar við skiptum okkur alltaf niður, við vorum aldrei að sjá sömu fyrirlestarana.
Einmitt, það væri bara mjög sniðugt að við færum aðeins yfir þessa 4 daga sem að við vorum í London, þetta var alveg frá 10 á mótnana til 8 á kvöldin. Socialist pool, svo kallað.
Einmitt.
Þannig að þetta var frábær helgi.
Já. En við kannski bara sýnum núna aðeins viðtalið við hana Suelu.
Endilega, og tökum bara stöðuna á konum í Íran. Það var margt sem kom á óvart nefnilega í þessu viðtali.
Já, það var það.
Sem ég er ekki vissum að fólk endilega átti sig á, sko. Því sem við sjáum í svona mainstreams fréttum þessa kvennabyltingu sem að eiga sér stað og versus raunverulega því hvernig klerkastjórnin að spila sínum spilum út gagnvart restina af heiminum.
Kíkjum á þetta.
Ok, góðan daginn. Við erum samankomnar, ég og Maríu Pétursdóttur á Marxisku Festival í London sem heitir Marxist Festival 2023. Þetta árlega ráðstefna sem haldin hér af Sósíalíska flokki Bretlands og hjá okkur ný vinkona okkar sem við hittum í gær, Suela Javaheri. That's right. Hún frá Íran upphaflega en hefur búið í London núna síðustu ár og við ætlum aðeins að taka stutt viðtal við hana.
Yes, my name is Suela.
Yeah.
And if I understand well, you're asking why I'm here.
So we met you here yesterday. So yeah. You are here at the Socialist Festival.
Yeah.
Why?
I think that deeply because of the river. I started research about the river in Birmingham, and very strangely it bring me here. And start with Socialist Festival. When I was researching about river, I was with a friend in Birmingham, and we saw the person from Socialist Party with these bulletins. And when I came here, it was for coincidence with this. and I can say that because of the river.
So it's a coincidence.
So it's your first time here now, or no?
It is, of course, this idea of revolution, this idea of changement and transformation is interesting me.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned for you also yesterday, I think that when there is this aspiration of revolution, it means that there is energy.
Yeah.
And there is transformation. River was, my research about river is about memory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And which is about joy and terror.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, yes, and because of it, I think that I had to be here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you live in London, did you say?
Yes.
But you are originally from Iran, so you follow closely the news from Iran.
Yes, of course.
And the women's protest. Can you tell us a little bit?
It started September, last September, with assassination, I can say, of Gina, because she didn't wear, in their opinion, their hijab well. Mm-hmm. And after that, the mass protest of Iranian women and men sought to ask civil rights, to ask freedom, to ask liberation, and to ask change, change in very different dimensions. And it's for months they were in the streets, with also strike, and it sort, and I think that in some sort it doesn't, it continues.
Yeah.
And not as a demonstration, because the price was too high. Hundreds of persons has been killed.
Yeah.
Thousands are in prison until now. But it is not possible to stop the resistance if resistance is rooted, and the motivation of it is deeper. It will continue, and I think it is.
Because it comes from within. It's a recurrent theme we hear here at the Marxist Festival, because it comes from below. It's an emancipation from below or within. Yeah. It's the people's power that they realize on their own terms.
Yeah, I think that, of course, and because I think that sort of resistance, women resistance, and is really related to womanhood. Mm-hmm. I think that it, even if you have present the Persian carpet, this sort of bringing the garden in the home, one by one, note by note, notes by note. It's sort of resistance, and it's most of them has been woven in the deserts. And this, I think, it's most powerful and most rooted resistance is imaginary. It has a very important part in imagination. And I think that this has existed all the time. But what is happening now is that there is one generation who born in the cities, and this kind of system will not represent them. Doesn't represent them at all, and they want to change it.
It's the youngest generation kind of
I think
of grown-ups that is kind of rebelling in the first place.
First of all, Iran is a very young country, and Iranian women, Iranian young women. For example, in university, we have 60% of the students of the university are the women. So we live in the country, then 70% of Iranian are under 35.
Okay.
And I mean that we are in a very young country, and they do not wear hijab in their parties, and when they have completely another scheme, ethical scheme and behavior scheme that and this kind of system that do not at all represents. And I think that it will be naturally it will be weak. This system will be weak and weaker and
weaker.
Did you say yesterday? You told us that Iran is a liberal country.
Yeah.
However, if you read the mainstream media, it will tell you that Iran is a patriarchal male state, almost.
I think that they are both of them somehow related. When I say that the liberal, I mean I didn't mean that there is sort of freedom of thinking, or freedom of being, or freedom of behavior. I mean that this neoliberalism, which is everywhere, is in Iran also.
It's also in Iran.
I mean, if your values are having more, and having
more than you need.
It means that you are before there. And I think that one of the parameters that can show it is the mass immigration. Massive immigration of Iranian young students that very qualified, that go to United States, go to another European countries, Australia, and this is sort of representation of this kind of neoliberalism attitude that is very rooted. Patrick, and yes, but sincerely, I did not find any society that is not.
I agree. Patriarchal. Patriarchal male states are all over the place.
I think that it is part of even womanhood, and because of it, it resists. I mean that I have a son, and all of the men had a mother and a sister. I think that
they're made of women.
There's a very beautiful African tale that I really recently read, and I will send for you also the link. That also already it is very ancient, but it talks about this womanhood and manhood that it is very rooted in our body. And in this tale, it describes womanhood as a sense of care. Soigner in French. It means that cares of the details, cares of the pain, healing the pains, and a sense of manhood as avidity, as wanting more, as wanting power and possession.
Which is very evident now in these women's protests in Iran, right?
Yes.
They're being crushed, the women, by the men. Men are trying to crush the resistance of women, but as you said, it's like a river, it goes on, the resistance.
Unfortunately, it is not despolarized in this meaning. I mean that there are also conservative women,
of course,
that do not want changing. I mean that change, I love revolution. I love this term, because I think that you cannot be revolutionary if you do not have hope. And
can I ask a little about you yourself? Like, you came here 9 years ago?
I lived for a long.
Because you mentioned emigration, sorry to cut you on the
I am a transmigratory person. I think that I'm sort of nomad, and it is very. It is more than 20 years that I left Iran. I was 5 years in Afghanistan. Afghanistan, of course, is part of me, very important part of my stories. And for me, it is difficult to say that I am Iranian or Afghan, even. Then I was 14 years in Italy. And I'm recently in England, in Britain. I was in Birmingham and now here.
What was Afghanistan like?
Extraordinary country. I loved. Very beautiful country. A very beautiful country. What was Afghanistan like? It is very
hard to describe.
Yes. I found courageous, very anarchic, and very pure energy. in Afghanistan. And maybe because of it, it is very interesting and appetite for many countries, from Russian to United States and before for Britain. Persian language was born in Afghanistan, in Balkh.
It was banned?
Born.
No, born.
Yeah. And it was very sad what happened 2 years ago in August 2001, the collapse of the capital and the collapse of the country in the hands of the Taliban, and massive forced emigration of elite.
The elite, yes.
Yeah, and but it was not. There was not any other solution because really the risk of the elite was too high.
Yeah.
Yes, I have of course hope for Afghanistan, even with this situation. I think that sort of resistance, of course, exists because the person loves to know, love to go to schools.
Yeah.
The girls love to go to school, and you cannot, even if there are the girls that loves to go to school, you cannot, oppress this desire because it is desire of love of knowing more and to be.
So that's a big difference between those two countries. Like, for example, the situation, it's much more open to women can at least go to school and educate themselves and work and all that. And
they are two different countries, of course, and with two different recent stories. They are a maxi question. It is very difficult to answer them for me. But as a filmmaker, normally I make stories. I mean that they have.
You are a filmmaker.
Yeah, I'm filmmaker. I'm documentarist and a film editor. Iran, Afghanistan had recently 40 years of war. Civil war, and which is not anything about civil in it. I can never understand why we call it civil war. Civil war. I never understand why it has been named like this. But geopolitically, Afghanistan is very appetitous for many countries, and it is very rich countries. I can just set anecdotes of this very beautiful country that I love. Deeply. I was in Bamiyan for documentary film, and I saw the women that regularly they went to some point of the mountain and look in silence to Buddha statue. I did not understand what they were doing. And one time I asked another person, and she said that they just do it as a ritual of their life. It was extraordinary because after 2,000 years of Buddha, and even they are not Buddhist, they are Muslim, but these sorts of meditation and silence and Allah exists. In Afghanistan, if you have a bad news, you never tell.
You never tell the bad news?
No, you go and in silence you see it. Maybe one day, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days, and your house will understand. Something happened. I think that you that come from Iceland can understand this language that is not just about spoken language, but it is also about silence. But in this violent world around us, which everything is very quickened, this kind of very subtle culture, very sensitive way of being is, as every sort of beauty is fragile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, is it possible to see some of something that you have like worked on?
Yes, of course, I will send for you. And yesterday we were in Frida, because my mind was
Frida Kahlo.
Frida Kahlo.
Yeah, the presentation, yeah.
And I was thinking about going to this polycrisis or Frida Kahlo.
Yeah.
And I said, my mind say polycrisis, but my heart say Frida Kahlo.
Yeah.
And I went to Frida Kahlo.
And you were right.
I took 45 photos of the tent.
Yeah.
I will send for you the video
But
of this. I think what is interesting about art is that for its nature is revolutionary.
Yeah.
It doesn't need that you've been socialist or Marxist or whatever it is. It means that you completely create disorder.
I was a bit, because I'm a visual artist in the beginning, you know.
Yeah.
So I was a bit also an art history teacher for a while.
Wow.
So I was a bit baffled by the question in the beginning, like, was Frida Kahlo a revolutionary? And I was just like, what do they mean? Was she?
Exactly.
Of course
exactly.
she was.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. No, I will send for you this photo because it is the tent, and I think that this sort of vendor is meaning. It emerges.
Right.
So we have to go and attend the next talk here in Marxism.
But this has been a great chat.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you very much. For me also.
Yeah.
For me also. Thank you very much.
Já, þetta var hún vinkon okkar, hún Suela. Við ætlum að halda áfram að fjalla ráðstefnuna í næsta þætti á sósíalískum feministum, en þakka ykkur samfylgdina í dag, verið sæla sinni.